guys, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to cover a topic that I covered last year for sadly a different reason. So last year I made a video where I talked about the hatch vents, and I had a lot of questions on people commenting that it looked like my rear hatch was open. So I've been using hatch vents for over 20 years. Now, in more recent years, there's been some better quality vents out there, and that's what I covered in last year's video. There's three that I'm aware of. Two of the two better styles are discontinued. You just can't get them anymore. You might be able to buy them on eBay. I look and don't see them. Well, I made a big mistake last year when I sold my 95. I let my easy vent, hatch vent, go with that car. I gave it to the new owner, and that, in my opinion, is the better hatch vent. And so now I'm left with one option, and it was the option that I really didn't have a lot of positive things to say about. In my personal experience, I had one break on me. You read stories all the time where people have their rear glass break. So 20 years later, I'm forced to buy the old school vent, and it's just poor. And I'm gonna go over what's wrong with it and what I did to improve on it. And more specifically, the issue here is, in its current design, this could break your glass. And I'm going to explain that and show you what I did. So, alright, let's open this thing up. There's a couple things noteworthy here, guys. So when you have a vent in, and it doesn't matter which style you're using, when you have a hatch vent in place, it's making one point of contact, and that's on the latch. The C5s, they use two, so it's a little more stable. Plus, their rear glass is designed different. It's much more structurally stable and sound than the C4s. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people in the C4 world that will not use a hatch vent. So, alright, let's talk about this. One, your struts need to be good. If your struts aren't good, these struts, believe it or not, when it's in the closed position, they're providing support. If your struts are bad, this is going to wobble more. So the struts are important if you're going to use a hatch vent. You have to have good struts. So the vent itself, this vent, it's the longest running vent around. I said there's been 3 different styles over the years. And the 2 better styles are more recent. And as I stated, both of those are gone now. The great thing about the other 2 is they didn't require a tool. They're toolless, or simply you can do it anytime without having a tool around. This old school one requires a tool. It requires a Torx bit. More specifically, it utilizes your target top wrench. So really quick, the way I solved my problem, and the huge problem with this, is a washer. Just a 1/2 inch washer. Now I'm going to talk about that now. So the vent itself is 2 pieces, and it requires a wrench. And it has a plate. So what happens is, the way this is designed, here's the post for activating your alarm, or the switch to turn off your interior lights when the hatch is closed. So I want you to see this. When this hatch is installed on the vehicle, here's what I want you to see. There's a gap. There's a gap on what I call the positive side of this latch. And what I mean by that is, since this is two pieces, this is what I'm going to call the positive side. This isn't moving. And then there's a clamp. This clamp moves. So as you tighten this bolt, this clamp is going to pinch onto the existing latch. What will move is it will pivot on here. So it's going to twist. When this is on the post, it's going to twist as you're tightening this. So what's happening is this side, this post, and this clamp are squeezing together all the way up until the latch touches this. Well, you saw how big that gap was. In fact, let me measure it. That gap measures just over 115 thousandths of an inch. This washer that I'm using is just under 85 thousandths of an inch. We're still having a little discrepancy between how big the gap is and how big my washer is. And the way I remedied that was by not using a screw in on the post side. I actually took it out. And what that's going to do, it's going to allow this to just wiggle a little bit. And without having, I won't need a screw in here. If I can secure this in such a way that it's all one, it's acting like it's all one piece, then I don't need this screw in here. I had some ideas for this, and I'm going to show you a picture. There's a big opening here in the latch, and that's where I had to think about what to do. My first plan was, since I'm a machinist, my first plan was I was going to manufacture a plug to put in between there with the right spacing and then flush on this side. But then I realized I'm just overthinking that. It doesn't need to be that complex. So then I thought, well, why don't I just cut this into two pieces? Now this will be pulled up against here and the clamp will tighten it. And then this will be its own piece. The problem I don't like about that is this part will have to be screwed in, and this is the part that fails on a lot of people, that cracks. Let me tell you guys, this thing is marketed as heavy duty cast. Well, cast is terrible to begin with. This should be CNC machined if they're going to do this. But it's very thin here, and when you over tighten this, it will crack that cast metal. Cast metal is not very strong. So my next thought was to cut into two pieces, but now I'm using two bolts, and I just did not like that idea one bit. And my third option, which really should have been my first option, was to put a spacer in the gap here. And my dilemma was how big this gap was. I couldn't use just anything. It had to have a big enough diameter to not go inside of that gap. I just happened to have a 1/2 inch washer with the right outside diameter. It seemed to work very well. Let me explain really quick why everything that I'm talking about is a big deal. This being a positive surface that's not going to move, and actually all the force being applied from the outsides squeezing towards the center. There's a post here and the latch is here. The way this is designed for you to put this on and tighten it so that it's secure and doesn't move, it's going to require a lot of force. And what's going to happen is it's going to bring these two together. So it's going to go like this. And this is going to bend or flex. And what that's going to do is transfer into the glass. And your glass is going to bow and flex. And if you've over tightened this so much that there's so much built up energy in that glass, and then let's say you have bad struts and you hit a pothole or a rock or a bump in the road, you could very likely break this glass because of all the built up energy from this being squeezed and trying to flex the glass, because this is screwed in to the glass. And if these two are going to be squeezed together, that energy is going to be transferred into the glass. So it's just my opinion that the big flaw with the longest lasting, most popular hatch vent is simply the way it was designed. This positive stop needs to make contact with this side of the latch, not the clamp side. This side, then nothing will flex. There will be absolutely no energy transferred into the latch or into the glass. But it's important that this side is rigid and solid on the latch. Let me talk to you a little bit about these washers. Washers are not all created equal. My washer, you want to feel it with your finger. Some washers are pretty cheap and they're stamped out and they have really bad burrs on them. Well, you want to be careful with those burrs, because if you have a latch that's in good condition and it has all the rubber on it, you don't want to damage that if you don't have to. So if you have a washer in mind, if you have one at home that's going to work but it feels like it has burrs on it, just hit it with a file or move it on some sandpaper. And also what I would like to have done is painted this black. Either plastic dipped it black or painted it with a black primer or paint, anything, just so that visually it will match. But I'll be honest with you, it's so narrow and it's hard to notice as it is. So for right now I'm going to leave it. Eventually, the next time I paint something, I'll probably paint this washer. So let's put this together now. All right, guys, here we go. I really quick, I just threw a towel up over the car so that you can see the latch a little better. Here's that gap I was talking about. This is in the post. I'm pushing this all the way over. Look at that gap. There's nothing I can do. And when you put this clamp on it and you tighten it, what's going to happen is it's going to take these two parts of the latch and try and squeeze them together, and all that energy is going to get transferred through these bolts up into the glass, and the whole thing is going to go like this. There's going to be stress in the glass, and you hit a bump and you have bad struts, it could jar it and possibly break it. So let's put this together really quick. I'm going to load the washer onto my ridges side. I'm going to make sure that I have my clamp ready to put in. Okay, now you can see I have a spacer in there. And then I'm going to tighten this. And I am not putting the screw in here. And the reason is, when I tighten these two, because I had a 30 or 40 thou gap between what it measured and the washer, if I have a bolt in here and had this secured, I'm still going to be transferring, I'm going to end up transferring more energy through there as I tighten this. With this bolt out of here, this whole latch is going to move on that post as much as it can. If it can move 10, 20 thou, that will help me a lot. And it's tight. I'm tight now, guys. I do not need that extra bolt in here. This is, with this surface making contact with the latch, this doesn't even matter anymore. I do not need that screw in there. That's it, guys. It's that simple. Alright, guys, so that was my latch video. I am much more comfortable with the way I have this secured on the car now versus how it comes shipped from the factory. This is very poorly designed, and I can see why people have had issues with the whole glass breaking. I totally can see that now. Well, if you have the old vents laying around, the easy vent or the I don't know what they called the other one. It was a quick thing, a springy thing. If you have those laying around, and one, if you're not going to use them, sell them on eBay. You can ask a good amount of money for them, and somebody's more than likely going to buy them. Or two, keep them in case you ever get a C4 again. I really wish I would have kept my easy vent, but I thought I was being a nice guy and passing it along with the car. And that's it, guys. Simple as that. And guys, I want to apologize. I haven't had a video up in a while. It's been about a month and a half. Real life has just been pretty crazy right now. I have a lot going on. But really, nothing's wrong with this car. I'm just doing nickel and dime stuff here. But if you think about it, over the 3 years that I've had this channel active, and the 3 C4s that I've had on the channel, 92, and 94, and a 95, other than doing an opti repair, I haven't fixed anything. Nothing major. These cars are a lot better than their reputation. C4s are fantastic. They're easy to work on. There's still a lot of parts you can get. There's a lot of quality used parts that you can buy on eBay. There's a lot of reproduction parts available. Guys, there's just nothing wrong with the C4 Corvette. I do not understand all the hate. I love them. I mean, guys, I had a C6, and that car was so boring to drive. Sure, it had 100 more horsepower, but the way the LS motor works, you really have to get on it for that engine to liven up. And the C4s, they ride a little more like a sports car, like you would expect out of a sports car. You feel the road, you feel the bumps, you're connected. The LT motors, the LT1, guys, the LT1 from 92 to 96, that was based off the ZR1 motor. Now, clearly it's not a ZR1. You step on the gas in a ZR1 and it's full speed ahead until the car just can't go any faster. It's very aggressive. The LT1s, you know, on a downscale version of that, when you give it gas, it goes. The LS1s, you really have to step on it for that engine to liven up. Now, I'll be fair. I test drove manual transmission C6s, and I didn't like the feel of the modern clutches, so I went to the automatic, plus it was a daily driver. So I'm comparing my C6 automatic to my 95 6-speed. My 95 6-speed was just a fun car. I really enjoyed driving that. I probably should have kept it. But guys, there's nothing wrong with the C4 Corvette. These things are awesome. Plus they still look good. I don't know what to say. C4s have a very bad reputation. I mean, for 3 years of making videos, I have over 80 videos. And other than my Opti repair, everything's been very, very minor. Now, some could say that it's just my luck. But guys, I've owned 5 C4s. I've owned 296s 20 years ago, and then 3 of them in the last 3 years. And I choose my cars, you know, I don't just buy the cheapest car out there. I need to make sure it's mechanically sound. I don't care if it's a little rough cosmetically. I don't care if I have to nickel and dime the interior. As long as it's mechanically sound, I'll be happy. So I choose good cars up front. That probably might be why I don't have the issues with the engines and the fuel pressures and the relays and all this stuff going on. But I've had 5 C4s, and other than doing the antenna, which actually this is my first C4 where I did not have to replace an antenna, and that includes my own cars from 20 years ago. Alright guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and I hope you subscribe. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for your support. I'm gonna have to sign off and get inside the house today. It is over 100 degrees in Minnesota today. It is pretty crazy in Minnesota. When it gets that hot, it's humidity, so it's pretty miserable out right now. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.